everyone, I'm Rihanna from A Frugal Life, and today we're going to be talking about how to build a frugal pantry. So I'm going to talk to you about pantry essentials, and whether you're a new pantry builder, a new cook in the kitchen, or whether you're a longtime cook with lots of experience, I think that a lot of these things will be helpful to you. So I'm going to tell you some things you should keep in the pantry on hand at all times to make sure that you're fully stocked and can throw together a quick meal, a quick frugal meal that is, at any time. So the first thing I want to talk about is grains, and I'm talking about things other than pasta here and even other than rice. So I do keep a 20-pound bucket of rice on hand at all times. We use it for cooking as well as for feeding to animals like our chickens. But there are also lots of other grains you can keep on hand which are super easy to make, very nutritious, and extremely frugal. Some of the things I keep on hand are quinoa and polenta, as well as multiple different kinds of rice like brown rice, white rice, different types of grains of rice. But there are also other things like quick cooking oats that you want to keep on hand, and barley. So having all these different types of grains on hand lets you throw together quick things like casseroles and soups with just some extra things that also will be in your pantry that I'm going to talk about, like vinaigrettes, sauces, and soup. So I will do something like throw together a quick soup with some stock and things from the pantry. I will add a handful of barley or quinoa into that, so throw in some additional nutrients, make it heartier, and make it stretch farther throughout the family and with additional servings. Next, let's talk about nuts. So nuts are super expensive, but I do like to keep a couple different types of nuts on hand at all times, and I purchase them very inexpensively whenever they are on clearance at places like Grocery Outlet, Aldi's, and other types of discount grocery stores. So I will keep walnuts on hand, peanuts, cashews, whatever I can get on sale, and I use them in things like salads, stir fries, a quick pesto with some olive oil, and I even crush them up to use as breading on chicken or other meats. So although nuts are a little bit expensive, they're great to have on hand for all of those different things, as well, of course, to use in your holiday baking. So I recommend you just keep a stock on hand, use them sparingly, but of course buy them on clearance. Next, let's talk about pasta. I keep a big basket of pasta in the cupboard at all times. I pick it up whenever I go to the store when it's on sale, so I always have different kinds. I keep spaghetti, rigatoni, spiral noodles, macaroni, whatever I can purchase on sale, and it's always great to just pull out of the cupboard and make a quick lunch or dinner. So you can just throw it together with a sauce from the cupboard, that pesto sauce that I talked about, or even a canned tomato sauce. Having it on hand can stretch really far. If you have unexpected guests, you can make a big pot of spaghetti. Pasta is an essential for building your pantry, and make sure you venture out of your zone. So don't always buy the same kind of pasta. Try all the different shapes. Try wheat pasta, veggie pasta, all the different types. It definitely adds variety to your meal, and it's not boring as some people think. It's just a nice frugal pantry staple. So next is oils. If you're going to be a home cook of any sort, you need to have oil on hand. I keep canola oil, vegetable oil, sometimes peanut oil, and I always have olive oil on hand. I do buy extra virgin olive oil. I use it in cooking. I also use it in vinaigrettes, and I buy it in big containers so it's cheaper. So you do want to have other things on hand, of course, like canola and vegetable oil if you're going to be doing any deep frying. So make sure that you have a couple different types of oil on hand at all times. If you can afford to splurge and splash out on some different types of oil, like grapeseed oil, they make amazing pastas and different types of dishes, and it's just great to have on hand in the cupboard to throw together a quick meal. Let's talk about vinegars. Vinegars are actually a really great thing to have in your cupboard, and you will see as you start to cook all the time that they can be used for a multitude of uses. I use them in marinades, I use them in vinaigrettes, I use them for all sorts of different recipes that I've gathered online. At least start out with a nice rice vinegar and a balsamic vinegar. You can of course purchase them on sale. You don't have to purchase them in big bottles if you're not going to use a lot of them. And then I always have a gallon of white vinegar on hand for both cleaning, for canning, and for other cooking uses. So vinegars are something you want to keep on the pantry shelf as an excellent pantry staple. Of course, you have to have your sweeteners, so we keep a variety of sweeteners on hand, and it totally depends on your dietary needs. So I have somebody who is a diabetic in my family, which is my husband, and we do keep all sorts of diabetic-friendly sugars on hand, like monk fruit sweetener, stevia. There are some that I like and that I don't like, but I have a little bit of everything depending on the recipe that I'm using for him. We try to do low carb, no or low sugar at most times. I even have a diabetic friendly brown sugar. So I keep all of those hands, as well as regular brown sugar for myself, regular white sugar for myself and for baking for others, and of course honey we keep on hand. So there are a ton of different types of sweeteners that you can use. Just keep on hand what you are actually going to use, but make sure you keep it in the cupboard at all times as a pantry staple, because it is good in sweet and savory dishes, and it is something that you will need if you're going to be an avid home cook. So next is spices, and spices will totally depend on how you grew up, what type of spices you enjoy, your cultural cooking habits, and what you're going to cook in the future. So I recommend starting out with a few basics. My basics are garlic powder, onion powder, a no salt seasoning from Trader Joe's, and a salt seasoning from Trader Joe's. And of course I have paprika and cumin and chili powder, so I can make a lot of different Mexican dishes that we love. But you may have totally different spices that you love. I recommend keeping 5 to 10 basic spices on hand. As I grow and learn to cook more exciting dishes, you can just buy one new spice at a time. For instance, if you want to start making pies, you might want to buy pumpkin pie spice. But you do want to keep a nice base of spices. Spices make a huge difference, especially with purchasing low dollar ingredient foods. You can totally spice them up with a few nice things like garlic salt, cumin, paprika, and chili powder, and you can have a great meal on a low budget. So salts. I just talked about the salt seasonings I get from Trader Joe's. I also keep white table salt on hand. I do have a pink Himalayan salt I got as a gift that I have never once used. So just keep salts on hand so that you're going to actually use, and of course, ask your doctor, make sure it's okay, make sure you don't have high blood pressure. If you do, like we do in my family, we use a lot of the no salt seasoning mixes. So salt is something you want to have on hand, especially for baking and a little bit in your cooking. It is a pantry staple that you're going to want to have on hand, but be careful how much you use in your cooking. Onions. I use onions in every savory dish I make. We like yellow onions, white onions, purple onions, all sorts of onions. I try to keep a few of each on hand in my cupboard. I store them in a cool, dark place, and I also buy them in a huge bag. So this is a frugal tip. You can buy onions in huge bags, ones that you could never use in a short period of time, and you can actually cut them up into small diced pieces or even rings. I freeze them on a sheet tray, and then when they're frozen, I take them off and pop them in a baggie, and I have them later on for cooking for a very long time. So it's extremely inexpensive if you buy like a 15-pound bag of onions and freeze them for later use. Herbs and citrus. I do try to grow herbs on my windowsill as much as possible, and then I keep dried herbs in the cupboard. Purchasing fresh herbs is extremely expensive, or not really something that's frugal and available to me in my budget right now. But having fresh herbs is extremely inexpensive if you grow them. So I recommend buying a few pots of different herbs like oregano and parsley and basil and keeping them in your kitchen window. All you have to do is water them and keep them in a sunny place, and you have fresh herbs all the time. Very, very cheap. So a pot of herbs can cost you $1.99 at Walmart, and it can last you for months or even years if you take good care of it. Next, you're going to want to keep some condiments on hand, both as bases for cooking. I use a lot of condiments in soups, even ketchup and mustard. I make a cheeseburger soup with condiments in it. And of course, you use them for putting it on top of things like burgers and hamburgers. Keeping condiments on hand will be great for little kids if you're trying to get them to eat something that's new. And it's also great to add flavor to dishes very inexpensively. So you can start it with very low cost ingredients like rice and pasta and spice them up with condiment and sauces. So I keep, at bare minimum, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, and Miracle Whip just for things like sandwiches and for some recipes. But I also keep soy sauce and teriyaki sauce and a hot sauce. There are millions of different condiments out there, so just start trying them as you find them on clearance and decide what you want to keep in your pantry or your refrigerator as a staple to your pantry budget. Next, we're going to talk about dairy. Some people don't eat dairy, so if you don't, you can skip ahead. But there are dairy items that we, of course, keep in our pantry and refrigerator at all times. So we do have some items we keep in our pantry, like powdered milk and condensed milk for things like emergencies and for baking. But we also keep, of course, the basic dairy things in our fridge. We keep milk for my aunt to drink and for baking. We keep eggs for cooking, baking, and a multitude of things because we have chickens. And we keep a variety of cheeses. So I have the benefit of shopping at a outlet grocery store, and I'm able to buy cheese very, very inexpensively when it's on sale. So we do keep shredded cheese and block cheese for basic pantry staples, but we also like to try additional cheeses as I get them on clearance. So I buy cheese for sometimes 10 cents an ounce, which is a great deal on cheese if you bought cheese recently, and cheese is a great thing to add to different things. So I don't add it to cooking quite as much. It's more of like a topping or a condiment because it is very high calorie, high fat, but it does add some great flavor, especially if you use a sharp or flavored cheese in your cooking. So cheese is something, as well as many other dairy items like sour cream and cream cheese, that you want to keep in your refrigerator and in your pantry as a staple essential. Next, we're going to talk about canned goods. Some people are not fond of keeping canned goods in their pantry essentials, and they like to do things like fresh pasta and fresh veggies, but I think canned goods are essential to have in your pantry, both for emergencies, for quick meals, and for a variety of other reasons. Some things that we keep on hand all the time are canned green beans, canned corn, and canned peas to throw together quick meals. They're also great in things like soups and casseroles. I even put canned corn and canned peas in my salads. We keep canned soups on hand for my aunt when I'm unable to make her large batches of fresh soup. It's something that she can easily eat. And then, of course, we keep things like canned sauces, canned mushrooms, and other things for backup and for cooking. So decide what you like and stock up on them for emergencies and for quick meals. So let's talk about frozen proteins, otherwise known as frozen meats. I have course buy lots of frozen meats to keep in the freezer and the refrigerator to make for my husband. I don't eat them as much, but I do eat them occasionally. We buy frozen chicken, beef, steak, pork chops, and we actually shop whatever is on sale. So our proteins and our meats entirely revolve around what is on sale for the week and what I can buy on clearance at the grocery outlet type stores, and then that is how we plan our meal. So let's talk about starches and grains like bread and tortillas. So I actually keep these on hand, but we do keep them in the freezer because we don't eat them as much. My husband has to eat very low carb, and I actually don't enjoy bread and tortillas as much as some people do. So I will buy a loaf of bread and it will last a very long time. It's usually used for guests or if I want to make my husband an occasional piece of toast. We do eat low carb tortillas a lot, and for that reason I buy big stacks of them at the grocery store, and I keep them frozen for whenever I want to pull out to make something low carb for my husband. So just decide what starches you like best if you're a bread eater or not, and you can purchase them inexpensively, keep them in the freezer, and it can be a pantry item that is a great staple to pull out whenever you need it and you know that you purchased it on sale. Last, I'm going to talk about backups. So I do keep a few frozen meals on hand for my aunt. She is disabled and can't cook for herself, so if I'm unable to cook for her, she has some frozen meals on hand. Sometimes I buy clearance ones like Marie Callender's in the freezer section, but most of the time I prepare a whole lot of frozen meals for her myself. So I'll make up a huge batch of pasta and veggies, and I'll put them in freezer containers and seal them so she can just pop them in the freezer. If you don't want to do that, you can of course buy freezer meals and keep them in the freezer yourself, but use them sparingly because of course they're very expensive. It is so much cheaper to cook for yourself, but I think freezer meals do have their place as a pantry staple, as a backup. So that is 18 categories of food you want to consider for your pantry. If you, again, have never built a pantry before and are unsure of what to buy, this should give you a good base. If you are just struggling to keep your pantry full at all times and don't really know what you should keep on hand at all times, but you're a great cook, these are some ideas to get started out with. So if you like this video and want to see more of them, please hit subscribe, of course, down below, and hit the notification bell because Facebook doesn't always show you the videos that you're subscribed to. I will talk to you later and have a great day.